Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Gamo Phox MK2 PCP air rifle sub 12 foot-pound version UK. We're going to strip it down step by step, show you how to take it apart. I'm not going to go through any of the cleaning process, just show you the parts disassembled. So let's begin. For this, you're going to need 4 Allen keys. You're going to need a 4mm, 3mm, 2.5mm and 2mm Allen key size metric. You're going to need a 10mm crescent wrench, or an adjustable spanner will probably do, but 10mm is the correct size. A couple of screwdrivers, and you may or may not need some assorted other tools like pliers, depending on how parts come out. So, starting, I'm going to remove the scope. Unscrew the moderator. Anti-clockwise. Normal thread. Lay that to one side. In order to remove the barrel band that joins the barrel to the air cylinder, you're going to need a 2mm Allen key, and that just undoes a grub screw. You just loosen slightly, and this should, well, it will slide off if I remove the cap first. Full cap removed, remove the barrel band, and that is the first stage complete. Next, we're going to remove the action from the stock of the rifle. 2 screws needing to be, 2 bolts need to be removed for this. We have bolt number 1, and bolt number 2 sits at the rear of the trigger. Not on the trigger assembly itself, just behind the trigger. So starting with the bolt in the middle of the stock. It doesn't matter which one you choose, this is just the one I chose. Bolt out. Second bolt. I'm just going to turn some lights on and show you exactly where that's come from. It's come from down in here. This is the bolt loosened, coming out. With that complete, the action can be removed from the stock. It literally just pulls up. I like to lift it from the end, fill end of the ear tube, and just lightly take it out. With it will probably come the protective rear cap for the end of the rifle. This can just simply be pulled out, set to the side. We'll leave that stock set to the side as well. And now we have the breech block barrel section and the air tube section. We need to split them in order to do so. There is 2 bolts on top here, and a third bolt that is actually accessed through this hole here, which is part of the hammer assembly, trigger assembly, hammer spring retaining device, if you like, through here. So let me just check. I think these are the 3mm sizes. No, sorry. 2.5mm. 2.5mm Allen key for this. I'm going to remove the 2 on the top of the breech block first. No reason. It's just where I was holding it. So 1 removed. Second one removed. And finally, access, like I say, through the hole here. This one, the screw doesn't come out, we just keep it inside this assembly. So that is it done. These will now be split. When you split them, try not to have it up in the air for the first time, have it lower to the ground as parts may fall out. Usually it doesn't. Oh, we did that time. So in this case, the transfer port had dropped out of its sitting point. There's no problem there. That can be changed, that can be buffed, cleaned, do anything with this. It doesn't matter if this falls out. But essentially, on the air side, it sits in here on top of an O-ring, and it joins to the barrel side on this part here. So I'll set that transfer port aside for now. We'll start with the barrel side disassembly. When they come apart, you will find there is a spring here. You can remove that. Underneath that spring is a ball bearing. Not sure if you can just see that sitting there. It should just drop out now the spring is removed, like so. Next, in order to get the pellet probe out, we need to remove a couple of parts. But what I'm going to do is an extra step. Basically, your cocking bolt handle can be removed also if you want, for changing out for any other colors, guides, if you've had yours hydro dipped or painted, etc. I'm going to go and remove this for the sake of this video just now. Personally, I prefer to remove it, the cocking bolt handle, when the pellet probe is still in. It gives something to torque against for loosening. So, 3mm Allen key in the back, loosen, and this will just come out. Like so. Okay, with that removed, we're going to start on the removal of the pellet probe itself. Inside here, we have what the dogs of the cocking assembly latch onto. Use an Allen key to remove an initial screw. 2.5mm size, if memory serves right. Yes. In there, and turn. Trying to do the best angle for the camera here. A bit more difficult than I thought. Oh. So this is what I've just removed. This is the retaining screw. This is the bushing for the cocking dog to latch against. Sometimes, I'll take the screw out. Sometimes this housing stays inside its landing profile in here. You can just pull it straight out if it doesn't come out automatically. This time it came out with the bolt in it. Doesn't always happen, but there's no extra retainer for this bushing. You can just go ahead and pull this out if needs be. So I'll set this to one side. And with that now, your pellet probe should just pull out from the rear. Out it comes. This allows you to do any sort of cleaning, greasing, etc. Buffing, polishing if you wish on your pellet probe. Set the pellet probe there for now. The only step really left for this piece, if you wished, is to remove the barrel. I'm not going to do it for the sake of this video, purely because I've Loctited mine in. Blue Loctite, not permanent red Loctite. But I still can't be asked with the taking it apart. So if you want to remove your barrel for any kind of cleaning purposes or change out, there's 2 grub screws that hold on to it. One here and one just behind the transfer port. You stick an Allen key in here. Let's just check the size. I believe it's 2mm, it might be. Yeah, 2mm. Your 2mm Allen key will be used in here. Remove your grubs, pull your barrel out. Like I say, I will not do it for this video, but that is how you do it. Air side Barrel side and breech block side finished for now. Let's take a look at the air side. So the air cylinder side, this is the magazine holder. You can simply remove it straight out of its housing there. Set that to the side. First thing we're going to go and remove is the trigger and hammer spring holding assembly. In order to do this, there is a latch pin. This is just a pin that's pushing top that holds this in place, prevents it from moving out. We need to remove this pin. There's no real tension on this. Sometimes you could do it by hand or pliers. I'm going to try and do it by hand just now, just to see if I can. That's it removed by hand. Very small pin. Set that to the side. And with that, this will slide out. The hammer spring guide and trigger assembly. I'm not going to go into any disassembling of the trigger assembly of this. It's a bit more of a technical issue there. But usually this is enough just to remove this for allowing any works and cleaning on your rifle parts. Set that to the side, along with the hammer spring that is metallically stuck there, magnetically. Hammer spring removed. What we're left with is the fill part of the air cylinder, the valve body, and knockoff valve, and the hammer itself, which is still in here. In order to remove the hammer, we need a 3mm Allen key. This latching dog here, used for cocking, is grubbed into place. In order to remove that, I'm not sure if the lights can see this clear enough, there is a bolt in there. You do not need to remove it, but you need to loosen it. So slide your hammer as far back as it will go. Put your Allen key in. Down on top of the hammer and anti-clockwise adjust. So I've just done about a turn, maybe a turn and a half there. It doesn't need to be much. This will then allow you to pull your cocking dog pin out. Set that to the side. Remove your hammer. Should slide out now. Hammer removed. Again, this now allows you access for any polishing, etc. that you want to do to improve smoothness of cocking the hammer inside here, if there's any burrs, etc. Now we're going to go ahead and complete the removal of the parts of the air cylinder, and the fill side and the valve body. Just a quick note on this, never try and remove these parts whilst the rifle is pressurized. You need to double check the pressure is 0. In this case it is. There's two methods for bleeding pressure to 0. You can either shoot your rifle all the way down until there's no air left in the cylinder. Could take a little bit of time in some of your rifles. In the Phox, it doesn't take too long. It's a small air tube. But if you don't have the time or you don't want to just keep shooting shot after shot after shot, blank firing to drain your pressure, you could use some kind of tool on top of this valve pin to knock, similar to how a hammer does. And if you have enough knock, you can hold this valve pin down, hold the transfer port open, air will gush out. I wouldn't recommend doing this at higher pressures. Like, I wouldn't do this from 3000 psi full fill pressure, but if you have, say, 700 to maybe 1000 psi pressure left in the tube, this is possible. Just ensure that you remove the O-ring from the transfer port in here first, otherwise it will blow out with the force. Also, I recommend wrapping a rag or some kind of cloth around you when you do it, as the noise can be quite a lot. So I would cover that hole prior to doing this. If I was to do it this way, typically what I do is I would use a screwdriver, or the butt of a screwdriver, should I say, just some kind of cylinder or piston-like device that would sit on top of that valve pin, and tap with a hammer. And you will hear the spurts of air come out as the tube is depressurized. Like I say, in this example, there's no pressure already, so we're good to go ahead. And we're going to start by removing the fill side. You will need something to go through the hole. I use a screwdriver, just as it's handy. Through the fill side hole, this is going to be your turning wrench. you need something else as a backup wrench. I like to use a screwdriver again, straight through there, and this is my backup. Shouldn't be a whole lot of force involved in this. Should just be a nice clean twist, anti-clockwise, like so. So that just broke the bite that we have. Now I can go ahead and screw this off. This is threaded connection. However, there is an O-ring in here below the threads, and this will only screw off so far until you have to pull out the O-ring. So when you feel that the threads are no longer engaged together from this brass piece here into the air tube, you then need to pull this assembly off, and you do it nice and gently. You can twist if you like to aid. Basically just wiggling. I don't know if I can really do it for the camera. And it pops out. That is the O-ring I'm talking about, that sits this way below the threads. I'm not going to disassemble the full portion of the fill side just now. Possibly in a later video, not for this one. We'll set this to the side. All we have left, I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, is the valve body in there, and it's been held in place by 3 positions. One is this screw here, or bolt. It's a 10mm spanner size, hence why we have the 10mm spanner. And then there are 2 kind of grub bolts, one on each side, that hold it in place too, which I think, let's see if it's right, is 3mm size. Yes, 3mm. So remove these smaller side grubs. 3mm spanner, again, shouldn't be too much torque on this, unless your rifle's never been disassembled before, in which case it could be. One removed. Two removed. And 10mm spanner for the last one. Break the bite. Unscrew. And now we have the valve body, the valve pin in here, not held in place by anything. We can go ahead and push this out. The best way to do this is to push it out of the side that the fill end is on. If you go via the side where the hammer is sitting, there's a lot of machined out parts here. There could be burrs that will catch any O-rings, could cause damage. You're better pushing it out the fill side. You'll need a rod of some kind. I have an old broom handle, that's what I'm using. Not very technical. I should also probably smooth this off a little bit better than I have, but it will do for the task. I'm basically going to insert this rod up against the valve pin. The reason I'm using a hollow rod is so that the valve pin itself does not get any pressure pushed on it. See if I can angle this any better. I don't want to be actually pushing down on the valve pin when I'm doing this. I want to have the housing around it and push on the valve body itself. So rod in, and you can start pushing the pole through the tube nice and gently. And sometimes it's better to do this over a desk or flat surface, because when this regulator comes out, when the valve body comes out, it can come out quickly. You can drop it on the floor, which we obviously don't want. So try to be gentle coming out. There we go. This is now a hollow tube, which you can clean. You could kind of buff very gently if you wanted to polish it with some very high grit number sandpaper, maybe 3000 grit, something like that, just to polish the inside if you really needed to. In this case, this one's actually looking not too bad. This is the smart piece that does all the air control. This is essentially a circlip, metal circlip ring that is slotted into place, holding a metal cap. which is holding a spring, and the spring holds the knockoff valve in place. You can remove these all out. I will do so for installing a regulator, which will take place in a later video. One single O-ring here, very simple, does a cracking job of regulating the shots on this Gamo Phox from stock. Brilliant piece of kit. If you ever need to clean it, I'll make a video on the regulator itself, assembly to this, so that we can see the disassembly of the main stock part and the assembly of the regulator on top. For now, that's disassembly complete. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to stay tuned for part 2 where we'll do the reassembly.